And it was only when we were traveling, my husband and I just said to him, like, what percentage of you wants kids and what percentage of you doesn't want kids? It definitely takes a village to write a book, unless maybe you're Stephen King. Creativity and spontaneity is all exactly what I'm loving about my child-free life right now. Hello, welcome to Life Outside the Default podcast. I'm your guest today, Leona Black from the UK.
Hi, Leona. Thank you for joining us today. So you're an author and you're currently writing a book, right, about a woman who's deciding to be child-free. Could you tell us a little bit more about what your book is about?
Yes. So I would caveat that first of all, where I wouldn't say I'm an author yet. I'm a writer. So
Okay.
I've had things published in magazines, but my distinction is until I have something published in a book, I'm probably not an author. But writer, I'm happy with. I don't know if you know, but if you ask someone who's starting to learn how to write a book, they can never answer that question, what their book is about. So I've written it down because it's important to me that I express it correctly. So my novel, it follows a woman called Nina, who takes a year-long break from her marriage to find herself, which in practice involves questionable decisions, travel adventures, and new experiences, most of which include her dog, Gigi. Along the way, she starts to realize that the life she was living may not be the right one for her. It's a story about freedom, women's choice, and the slightly messy reality of figuring out if you want to have children or not.
I like it. Where did you get the inspiration for this character, Lena?
Initially, I was inspired by the book All Fours by Miranda July. Don't know if you've read that book, but
Not
it's
yet,
sort of,
no.
okay, it sort of blew it out of the water for me that you can write whatever you want. It's pretty risque. Mine's not quite like that, but I was like, oh, you can write whatever you want to write about. And then I started doing a writing course and a character just started to evolve. But primarily, I wanted to write about a character who wanted to explore being child-free in a novel because there really aren't that many novels about women who are actively child-free. And predominantly, if they are child-free, it's sort of maybe a mention or historically often witches or spinsters. So I wanted to have a novel where she was modern day woman in her late 30s, lives a very normal life, maybe a little bit boring at times, and she wants adventure and excitement and to basically blow the mold and do something differently. Yeah. So it just sort of grew from there. So originally I was thinking about like menopause stuff, but I didn't feel excited about that. Whereas the child-free stuff, I was like, yeah, no, that would be really good. And there aren't women really written about in novels that celebrate that choice of being child-free. There is one called Olive by Emma Gannon, which is really good. And that's kind of sort of angle I've been looking at, but yeah, not many. So yeah, that's why I wanted to do it. Keep it fun and light as well. It's not like telling people what to do or anything like that. It's just exploring both sides of the story and then helping her make a choice.
We definitely need more stories like that because even in television or movies, there's hardly a child-free character, especially that doesn't later change their mind, to have children.
Exactly.
So to explore that story, I think is really great. Even for people who have children or want children, might enjoy reading it just to kind of get a different perspective on options and lifestyles out there, right?
I think it keeps the conversation between women who've chosen to have children and women who've chosen not to have children. It keeps it alive, and it's good to be able to have those conversations in a kind and supportive way.
I agree. How has it felt putting all of these thoughts and feelings to paper, though?
Yeah, that's interesting. I suppose I get so bogged down with the feelings of inferiority of writing that I don't know how I feel about the child-free stuff, but it makes me feel, as I'm writing, it makes me feel more impassioned about it. Helping women realize that they have a choice. Not all women, of course. There's a lot of women in the world who don't have that opportunity to make that choice. But if you are a woman who's privileged enough to be able to have that choice, think about it carefully, make a really good one. So I think, yeah, I feel like really excited to write her and see how she unfolds. And also, obviously, there's going to be elements of me and my decision in there too. So that was interesting to explore and bringing in little moments of where my choice came in and putting that into the story as well. So there's Certainly not an autobiography by any means, but there's definitely elements of my life in there interweaved. So yeah, I just love it. I love what I write. It's pretty good. I think it needs a lot of work, but I just would love to be able to have something out there that is fun and light and accessible for lots of people to read. I don't know if you know, but there's tons of research books out there and memoirs. There's loads of that stuff for women who are child free and trying to make that decision in that form. But that's not always accessible to everyone, I suppose.
Right. This sounds like a little bit more of a fun read,
It is meant to
not
be a fun read.
research.
Yeah, for sure. It's set firmly in commercial women's fiction, but it's not trash either. It's
Yeah.
I think, going to be decent read.
Do you have a time frame of when you might be done writing, like a goal that you're trying to have it available by?
I have I had my goal, which was finish my first draft by New Year's Eve. I did that. I managed that. And my second draft, I haven't really got a specific goal. I've just said I'm giving myself a couple of years.
Okay.
I generally thought it'd take me a lot longer to write it than it does to edit it, but editing is a Sisyphean task. It will go on forever. So yeah.
Are you editing yourself then?
I am. I've got
Yeah.
help. I've got a writing coach who's helping me, and I will go through a developmental editor as well to help with that too. But at the moment, and also I've got really kind people who are reading it for me and offering me like observations and things that you miss, and they're helping me as well to make adjustments. So it's kind of like it definitely takes a village to write a book, unless maybe you're Stephen King, then maybe you don't need that as much in the same way. But when you're starting out, you need a lot of help, I think.
I was going to say,
And
he's had a lot of practice.
oh yes, a lot of practice. Yes. And how I go about publishing it, I don't know yet. There's different routes, so I'm working that out.
There's still some time to figure it out.
Yeah, plenty of time. I just need to. My first objective was to be able to write a book, and it didn't matter that it was good or not. I just needed to get this person written on a page. And then the next objective is to make it a good book. And then I'll see if it's good enough to bring into the world.
Well, kudos to you for actually starting. I think that's probably the hardest part, is just sitting down and get started, and then especially to complete your first draft. I'm not a writer by any means, but I just know whenever you start something new, it's always like easy to procrastinate. So you've taken that first big step, which is awesome.
Yeah, I am pleased I managed to do that.
And you mentioned you also write for Breathe magazine.
Yeah.
Yeah. What
Have you
kind of
heard
articles do you?
So in case you don't know, Breathe magazine, it's printed in the UK, in America, and Australia, and maybe New Zealand as well, and Canada, I believe. And it's all about mindfulness, well-being, creativity, and travel, which is great. And the articles I write for them are what have I written? I've written some on compassion fatigue. I've written it about forgiveness, lying. I'm just writing one now about second chances in life. I've written another one on habits and making positive habits and negative feelings and how to embrace them. So those are ones that are coming out soon.
The second chance in life sounds really interesting. What's that one about? I mean,
Second
they all sound
chances, sorry.
interesting, but
Yeah. No, the second chances is more whether we choose to give people second chances or not.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I actually like what you're thinking about second chances in life. I did another one as well about time buckets. And that was based on a book about ensuring that we have different seasons in our life where we will want to do different things. So um and how so you might really want to say travel and go over Machu Picchu or something like that, but don't wait until you're retired. Like think about when you've got your health, your fitness. And so this is do it when you're younger. And this is balance between time, health, and money. And those three things change throughout your life in different seasons. So then plot what you want to do with your time in those seasons and depending on whether you've got more health or more money. So when you're younger, you probably have more health, potentially more time, but not as much money. So what are you going to do with that time?
I really like that perspective, like kind of breaking down the plans that you make in your life, like you said, by the health and all that, and not just thinking, oh, when I retire, oh, when I retire. Well, when you
Exactly that.
retire, you can't always hike Machu Picchu.
No.
Or it might be less enjoyable and more challenging to hike it anyway.
Yeah, like I would really we love to travel. Another reason why we love being child free. Of course, you can travel with children, but it's a hell of a lot easier to travel without them. Um, I really want to go to Antarctica, but as kind of a cruise, I reckon I
Mhm.
can probably put that off till a bit later in life and do the things which involve hiking and a bit more physical exertion now.
Yeah, 100%. And you're getting ready to go on an adventure, you said in 2 days you're leaving to do a trip in your van. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. Every summer because I work for myself, I have my own business, so I can basically, I'm actually having a career break, but usually in the summer, my work dies down a little bit, and so we're going off in the van. We take our two pugs, and we've travelled all sorts of places in the UK. We've spent a couple of months in France, a month in Scotland, a month in the Peak District. We like to take our time. I think lots of people go to those places for maybe a week or two, but we just like to take our time. And then this adventure, we do a little bit closer to home because of Mabel, my pug, having chemo, so we can't go so far away. So just going to explore Wales and be by just in nature. Like put me in a field, I'm happy.
Do you typically do camping kind of here we call it dispersed camping. I'm not sure if you use the same term in the UK, but
Mhm.
you're not in a campground, you're kind of maybe in a field or something like that.
Sure. Yeah, we call it wild camping. I mean, it's not really wild. We have an oven and a fridge, but yes, it's cool. We can go off grid and park up on places that are, tolerant of that, I suppose. Scotland's really good for that. They actively encourage you to go camping outside, but in England and Wales, a little bit less easy. But you can usually find a spot, and as long as don't stay there forever and leave it as you found it, right, and move on,
Right.
it's usually
How do you
okay.
how do you find those spots typically?
Have you heard of an app? I don't know if you have it over there called Park for Night.
Mm-mm, no, I haven't heard of
So
it.
yeah, in the UK, it's an app, and people find these spots, and then they put it on a map and tell you what the spot is like, and so yeah, you follow it that way. I mean, it's great and it's bad in the same thing, right? It means it's more accessible, but when things are more accessible, it means more people turn up. Yeah, we tend to try and go in the week when it's a bit quieter and in term time. So again, it's quieter.
What kind of van do you guys have?
We have a Peugeot Boxer.
Okay, not familiar with that.
So I know it's a French made Peugeot Boxer. It's a little bit like a transit van,
Okay,
like a
yeah.
big work van, I suppose. We had it kitted out, and we've got a fitted bed, and we have a little shower and toilet, a little sofa. Only 6 meters long. It's not huge, but it fits. Things get fitted in really well. An oven, fridge. Yeah, it's great.
It's amazing what they can fit into those vans or,
Hmm.
transport haulers. It's like
Yeah,
tiny, but you can have all these things fitted in perfectly. I love it.
it works well. I'm definitely of camping in the van in winter now. The novelty is worn off. I don't want to just sit in the van. You need to be outside as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just love just being out in nature. Really, that's you.
Yes, and that's the goal, right? Is to get outside more when you do these trips in the van, right? Not just sit
Mm,
inside. How long
for
will you be
sure.
gone for? How long do you typically
Um,
are your trips?
oh, they vary. This time we're going to go away for a couple of weeks, but we will be away in and out between now and the end of September.
Okay.
Yeah. We can work remotely. Well, my husband can work remotely, and I can do bits and pieces remotely if I want to. Like I can write my articles, I can carry on writing my book. My other work I have to come back for. How long are you traveling for in your van?
It's indefinite. We don't have a end date. So we sold our house and pretty much all of our belongings other than what we have with us, and we're traveling around. We kind of stay in one place for a few weeks at a time. Typically, during the summer, we might move a little bit faster. We'll see.
Mm, yeah, but the States is so diverse. There's so many different terrains and places for you to visit. We've got that, but in a mini version. So,
Yeah, they're a lot smaller, but you have all
mm,
the different cultures and different languages over there, which there's a little bit of a different culture. Like I'm from the Southeast, which is, we call it Southern and country. And then you come up here to the Northwest. It's a very different culture, even though you're still in the United States, but not quite as diverse as like French to Spanish or something along those
yeah,
lines.
sure.
So with when you're camping in your van, is it hard to find like water or places to like take a shower or dump or anything like that in the
We tend to do it. We will, like, if we're in a campsite, we'll fill up on everything, and then we can go away for 2 or 3 days. We've got enough water then. And then we might have to go back to a campsite. But in England, in Scotland, it's fine. But in England and Wales, you can't just, there aren't places to go and dump your waste or anything like that. You have to go to a campsite. Um,
Okay.
and to fill up as well, you can do it in some petrol stations, but you never know where you can do that. And I think lots of people are different, but we tend to, yeah, like I said, fill up in a campsite and then go off and be out without anything for a while.
Oh, that's nice. And you get a little bit more away from people and the noise and a little more peace.
Yes, hopefully. Sometimes, as I say with these apps, if it's a good spot, you probably get a few more people. And if it's a weekend, you definitely will.
That's true. Yeah, over here you'll find that people will try to not share the really good spots online too much because
Of
they're trying to
course.
keep it secret. And like you
Yeah.
understand because like you said, it could ruin it if too many
Yeah.
people are there. But then
Yeah.
occasionally somebody will let the cat out of the bag and be like, "Oh, this is a really good spot."
Yes. Yes. That's happened a lot over here. Instagram has definitely made that happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. So with your remote work, is that the educational psychology that you're doing?
Yeah. So I am an educational psychologist. So the work I do predominantly is in schools. So then I'm not working remotely, but I have reports I have to write or things I'll need to research when I'm writing for Breathe magazine or, like I said, doing my novel, but that's not paid work yet. So I can do all that stuff remotely. But it's, yeah, summer holidays, honestly, no one wants me in their schools between July and end of September. No one wants me. So it's a good time for me to go off then. And then I dip in and like in May, I've got a few days in schools and then I'll go off again and then I can do the write ups and things like that. It's fine. It works for me. I work it around my life.
That's the best way to do it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
you do you work with children a lot in that type of job?
Not anymore. So I used to work with children, but now my job is working with the teachers and the parents. I might go and observe a child in a classroom environment, but I don't do any one-to-one work anymore. I don't do any assessments. Lots of educational psychologists do, but that's my model of working and working with the parents and the teachers because they're the ones who are going to be making the changes. So it's about helping them see things a bit differently and yeah, and then just helping them to help the children. So I just, yeah, don't do the work directly with the children so much anymore because they're the ones who make the changes, the adults. So get them to change.
You usually that's kind of what needs, right? From change from
Yes,
the top and then the children will change
exactly.
too.
Exactly. Yeah, I've definitely found it much more effective.
Are you going off based off of information that the parent or the teacher's providing to know like what type of advice to give them?
Yeah, completely. So I'm just listening to what um, we call it like what their problem is and what they want to solve. And then I'll work with them directly. So if you have a teacher, say, who wants this child to would like the child to make more friends or would like the child to be a bit more confident or have more self esteem, I'll talk to them about that and what they've been doing already to help that child. And then I will work with them to think about other ways that could be helpful, drawing on research or evidence or just I've been doing this for 20 years. I've got a whole bank of knowledge on what helps children. It's just people who are too close to the problem can't see the wood for the trees. So my job is often just to help them see that again and see more clearly.
A different perspective.
Yeah,
When when you
perspective.
got into educational psychology, did you know you didn't want children at that time, even though you would be working with children more often?
Good question. No, I did want children then. Um, I, I, yeah, I always did want children. I think becoming an educational psychologist is probably part of the reason that I didn't want to be a parent anymore. Being honest, yeah, I love what I do, but I've also seen when it doesn't go so well, and I think that was very hard.
Yes, you're not just seeing it through the rose-colored glasses, the dreamy times, you're seeing the realities.
Yeah, I see the reality when things aren't going as well as you hope they would go. And, power to parents that can manage children, well, manage their situation and support children who've got disabilities or special needs, but yeah, it wasn't for me.
Just out of curiosity, because I honestly don't know a lot about educational psychology, what type of recurring things do you tend to work on with the children? Is it behavior or
Autism. I see autism.
autism?
When I first started, you didn't see it that often, but now I'd say it's really unusual to not see a child with autism or suspected autism. ADHD is really common as well. I mean, and since the pandemic, we have a thing which is very common, which is emotional based school avoidance or anxiety, and children just not wanting to go to school. Like I was asked to support a 4-year-old who hadn't been at school for months, which is kind of crazy to me. I'm like, what's happening? I don't even want to go to school. Like that's the best time. Yeah, those are pretty much my bread and butter. Those
Mhm.
ones. Sometimes learning, like cognition and learning, finding learning hard and trying to unpick why that is. But there's usually more stuff going on um, there. So I do a lot of work with parents around that and supporting those needs in schools now.
Then how does that kind of impact the way that the teachers teach? Are you trying to also guide the teachers on what they're doing?
Oh yeah, that's predominantly what I'm doing. So schools are the
Okay.
ones who employ me. So I'm working for them. Essentially, they are my customer and the child is the client, if that makes sense. So ultimately, the child is the main focus, but the adults are paying. But yeah, so they get most of my time. It's about helping the teachers change their behavior to help that child integrate more easily and in the classroom. Yeah. And usually,
Yeah.
what we're talking about with this one child is they're like, oh, okay, that could also help the other children who've got needs, but we haven't got the budget to be helping those children as well, but it will help them too. And that's great. If we
Yeah.
can help more children,
Yeah.
that's much better. I love the work I do in supporting schools and children and supporting the adults. But yeah, it definitely it wasn't the reason I didn't want children, but conversely, another part of this was when I was weighing up whether I did want children or not. Hang on, my battery's about. It's weighing up, like getting a bit worried I didn't have any purpose. Like if I didn't have children, what would my purpose in life be? And a good friend of mine actually pointed out that I had at that point a very purposeful job. Like I worked in schools and supporting people and made changes and helped lots of kids. And I was like, oh, it was almost like a light switch went off, and I was like, oh, there's my purpose. At that point, 10 years ago, having purpose seemed very important to me. As it's shifted a lot as I've got older. But then I was like, right, okay, I don't have to have kids. Like I was just worried that I'd have no purpose in my life if I didn't.
That makes sense. And honestly, if you don't have children, you may be able to show up even more, I don't know what the word is, like more refreshed and energized every day because you're not working with children all day long and then going home and working with your own children and then waking up and
Mhm.
doing it again, but you have that break in between where there's no kids involved and then you can show up to your job, I imagine, even like more ready to face the day,
Present.
maybe a little
Yeah.
more present. Yes, yeah.
Uh, Yes, I would say that also you can get a bit bogged down by it sometimes, which is why I need the summers off just to kind of recoup myself. But no, I totally agree. Like one of the things that annoyed me most, one of the criticisms that I've had is you can't be a very good educational psychologist if you don't have children. And I was like, oh my God. Like, that's the most sort of bizarre thing to say to me because it's like, okay, so you can't be a very good fireman if you've never been in a fire, or you can't be a very good surgeon if you've never had surgery, or conversely, you can't even be a very good parent if you haven't been a parent before. Like, this is the most ridiculous thing to say to me. So that was the only thing. Like, I haven't had, well, I haven't had a lot of backlash about choosing not to be child free, apart from in one isolated incident, which we can talk about perhaps. But that annoyed me because I was like, well, actually, I'd have to be a parent of children with special needs and disabilities if you really want to get into that. Otherwise, no parent would even understand the role either. So, yeah,
Yeah,
that
just
was a
because
big
you
difference.
birth a child doesn't make you an expert in being a parent. It takes educating yourself, and you've
Yeah,
obviously done that through your degrees and whatnot without if you even if you had a child with a disability, that doesn't make you an expert in children with disability. You still have to do your part and research it and figure it out.
that's
So that
very
is a
true. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So, yeah, that's just an ignorant comment, in my opinion. But
Yes.
yeah. Mm.
Maybe not a
It
well
was
thought
actually
out comment.
I was interviewed by the Telegraph newspaper over here in the UK, and probably maybe the wrong paper to be interviewed for on being child free because it's pretty right wing. I got interviewed with two other couples, my husband and I, talking about being dinks, so dual income, no kids, and basically I was like, oh, just the comments and see what people are saying. I'm sure sure people are really nice, and then that was a mistake. Like honestly, with the hatred towards us and the other couples for choosing not to have kids and how selfish we were and just awful people and like they hoped we would die alone and miserable and all this stuff. It was mad. And I was just reading these comments and it was almost like self-harm. I just kept reading them. And a few were thrown in which were like, oh, come on, this is getting out of hand. But the one post that pissed me off the most when someone said she can't be a good psychologist because of not having kids. And I was so tempted to like write back something. I mean, it didn't matter what the other people were saying, but my husband's like, do not fuel that fire. Just don't say anything. So I didn't. But yeah, it was a good lesson that I realized that it doesn't really matter what people think about you. I was like, wow, I don't know any of those people and they all hate us for some reason and they don't even know me.
That's what I was going to say. They don't even know you or who you are outside of that
No.
interview. And that interview is just a small little blip into your life.
Exactly.
It's,
Yes.
yeah.
But it was a good learning experience. And I complained to the Telegraph and made them take down like the really racist comments. So it was just outrageous. But apart from that, I haven't had anyone say anything to me about it. And I know that some women have really had a lot of backlash from people saying they're selfish or whatever. But no, that was the first time. So it was quite a shock to me.
Yeah, I've been in a similar boat. I haven't had a ton of backlash either. I've had like one pretty rude comment from a coworker years ago. And then when I was in my early 20s and probably up until my late 20s, people would always say like, "Oh, you'll change your mind." But
Exactly.
they weren't trying to be like malicious with it, they
Mm,
were just
making
making a
chat.
comment and
Mm,
exactly. And so I just like it okay. And honestly, at that time I was like, maybe I will change my mind. Like I've changed my mind about other things. Who knows? They could
yeah.
be right, they could be wrong. I don't know. Of course, I
Mm,
never did change my mind, but I was just like, whatever. It didn't really bother me too much, those comments. But other than that, like, yeah, not really too many bad instances, which I'm
yeah.
glad. But I do know I've heard stories from some women. I'm like, well, they've they've went through it, with their family or friends or whatever.
I know. And the other one, which is sort of a sort of backhanded compliment, is you'd make a really good mother. And I'm like, I never said I was going to be a bad mother. I just don't want to be one.
Right.
That's not what I'm claiming. Like a great mum or just a helicopter parent. I don't know. I'm really, really like crazy with my dogs. But yeah, no, it was, I think they're trying to be complimentary, going, we'd be so good at it. And I'm like, yeah, on paper.
Yeah, on paper.
Mm,
Who's to say?
yeah, but I think
But
I did want to have kids. And then, but I think I wanted to have kids because that's what you just did. And it was only when like, we were traveling, my husband and I think we're in Bolivia. He thinks we're somewhere else, but I think we're in Bolivia, having a beer. And I just said to him, like, what percentage of you wants kids and what percentage of you doesn't want kids? And he said, I can't remember exactly, but both of us came to the conclusion that we were about 80% don't want kids and 20% does. So I was like, right. So we're not 100% wanting to have kids. So that means we probably need to have a think about that. I mean, I think, a lot of people might go into this thinking 80/20s, that's enough to go for it. Personally, I think it should be 100% yes. But then the more, I mean, 80% I was like, God, actually, there's quite a lot of not wanting to have kids. Whereas I just assumed, like, we were going to go get married, go traveling. I was going to come back, get a job, maternity leave, boom. But we went traveling. I was like, no, I want to keep doing this. Maybe I don't actually want kids. We did meet three people traveling with their kids and they were amazing. I'm like, good for you. But they were like, it's not easy. But I'm sure it was wonderful and rewarding in different ways. But yeah, and then I just did my research, and so I read a book called Two Is Enough. Whenever that was about 13 years ago now, and it was a great book for me because it was the first book I'd ever read where there was another perspective on not having kids, and just thought about it really deeply. And then when my friend said about having purpose in my work, I went, oh, there you go, done.
And your
No,
husband, he was pretty good with it too. He thought
very,
about it and said, "You know what? Oh, very
yeah.
cool."
Yeah, yeah. I mean, maybe a smidge more than me, but because I think that because men, generally speaking, will have the option to have children till a lot later in life. There isn't the pressure to make that decision. Whereas obviously, I'm hitting my 30s. I've got to start making that decision. And even now, sometimes I'm like, well, I'm 47. Like the choice is gone, and I think, am I definitely okay with this? Because now it's too late, and I can be a little bit like that if something's like pushed on me and I don't get the choice, then suddenly I want to push the other way. So my body's stopped that choice for me. But hey, sometimes as you intimated earlier, we can have rose tinted glasses. And whenever I thought about having kids, there's a romantic notion, like lying there with a little girl, reading them beautiful stories or something like that. But that's just a really small part of it. And they might not want to read, which is
Right.
definitely, I meet a lot of kids who don't want to read. Um, so if you strip back the romantic notion, what you left with, and I think that was, for me, was when the reality struck that there'll definitely be. I'm sure there's lots of joy for lots of people, but there's so much hard work with it as well. And I've seen the, what's it called, the hard end of it. 100% of children I work with have all have difficulties. And I know that's not the real world, but that's just what I've seen. So I've seen how hard it can be. And
And there's enough children in those situations to actually need that support at schools. So it's not just a very rare chance. It is a relatively good chance, I would think. It sounds like.
but yeah, I'd say more and more so. Um, yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
You see a lot of children in the classrooms now having needs. And I think that is also because of resources reducing. So you
Mhm.
can't do the early intervention in the same way to help children.
Yeah.
So naturally, you'll have varying degrees of needs presenting themselves as a result of that.
Absolutely. That makes
Yeah.
sense. I had mentioned this before on the podcast, but I was a nanny when I was in my teens, and so I
Same.
saw that side. And I
Yeah.
think that definitely played a part in my whole analyzation of do I want children or not? Because I had 3 kids I was taking care of at the time.
Mm-hmm.
It was a
Same.
lot of work.
3 boys I had.
Yeah, so I was like, this is a lot of work, and I was only there Monday through Friday. It wasn't even the full
Mm.
7 days a week, 24 hours. So I think that
Mm-mm.
definitely was like a eye opener for me.
And the very fact that someone hired you to look after their children suggests that it's not easy. And they probably got some money, but it's
That's true. And the wife didn't work. She was a
Mm.
stay-at-home mom as well. So she was there,
Wow.
but she had a very social life. So she would like to go to tennis or different things and needed somebody to care for the kids while she was gone. So
Wow.
yeah, but it's a good point. If they're hiring somebody, it shows the amount of support required, right? Especially when there's
Mm.
multiple children involved.
Yes, that's right.
So you also do a Childfree women's walk in your area, which I think is
Yeah.
so neat.
Even you saying that, I got little shivers because I love it so much. It's very special to me. We have a group in Bristol for child-free women, which I discovered 2 years ago now, actually. I was really quite lonely, and child-free women can be, I think, quite lonely because you miss out, as you know, you miss out on school gate friendships and
Mhm.
nursery friendships and NCT friendships, all that. And your friends change and their relationships change and they don't have much time, etc., etc. And I was watching, or no, reading a news article on the BBC, and it was all about the dropping fertility rates in Bristol. And this group came up called the Child Free Women in Bristol. And at that point, I think there was certainly maybe like no more than 500 women in the group. I was like, this group, this is amazing. So I joined the group. Now there's over 1,200 women in it. And that's
Wow.
just in our area. And so every month, and I've done it, this is coming up in May, will be my 21st walk. I've organised one every month, and we go around this place called Ashton Court in Bristol, which is really beautiful. And people bring their dogs if they have them. And I have the same women coming each week, or if they can. And then I get new faces come and go. And it's an absolute joy. I love it. We go for a walk for about an hour and a half, then we sit down afterwards and have a coffee for about an hour or so, and just, I'm not talking about being child free all the time by any means, but what I've found through meeting those women is we often have similar values. So we might have different interests, but our values tend to be aligned. And then that makes, I've never met someone in that group who I haven't was brilliant in their own way. You definitely get some characters. Child-free women can
I'm
be
sure.
quite, some child-free women can certainly be strong-willed.
Yes, absolutely. Which makes
Yeah.
sense considering, the
Yes.
challenges they may face.
Mm,
I agree with you. Like, it's not always about talking about being child free. Like, that subject could get old, in my opinion, after a while, but it's being able to have those
yeah.
conversations where they don't shift back to the children, the sports, the school activities, because that's
Yeah.
where I've had trouble when I've met women. Is like the conversation tends to go that direction if they're mothers, because it's such a big part of their life, and I get it, and I'm fine, I'll talk about it, but it's just really nice to sit in a group with people
Mhm.
and that's not even a topic. You're talking about travel or work or hobbies or whatever, gardening, it doesn't matter,
Yeah.
but it's
And
any
often
other
our pets.
subject.
Pets are
And
what
the
comes up
pets.
instead. It replaces the conversation. We still talk about their wee and their poo and their diet and what do they like doing for fun and health problems. All that stuff come and what sweet little thing they did that day. It's all the same. Like, I just think, a lot of women still have that mothering instinct in them. They just need to put it somewhere else.
Yes. And then what better place than a dog or a cat?
Yeah. That's it.
That's really
Yeah,
neat.
so no, I'm very lucky, and as a result of that, I've made a lot of friends. I don't ever feel lonely. If anything, I feel a bit overwhelmed. I'm like, okay, someone else wants to meet up. I have to manage that a bit. But yeah, no, it's meant a lot to me.
I'm impressed you have over 1,000 ladies in the group. Is Bristol
Yeah.
a pretty decent sized city?
Yeah, so that's not in my walking group. Sorry, that is in the main
Okay.
child-free group, and they do
Oh,
organise
okay.
lots of different activities. But in yes, it is. It's in Bristol and the surrounding areas. So that I don't know how far that covers. Within a half an hour radius of Bristol, I'd say ish. But in my walking group, I usually have 10 women there, but I've probably had about 100 different women. If you know what I mean, they just different ones
Yes.
come and go. Yeah.
Even for the Bristol group to have 1,000, that's really great because I'm in a
Yeah.
couple of local groups and I don't know the exact numbers, but 100, 200 maybe. They're much
Mhm.
smaller, so that's really neat to see such a large
Well,
group over
Bristol
there.
has lowest birth rate in the whole of the UK.
Wow.
So it's a place where a lot of people have chosen or can't or whatever. They don't have kids. So naturally
Very
we've got
neat.
more women here.
What's the best part about crafting a life around your own values to you?
Well, I suppose selfishly it means I get to do what I want to do. And there's nothing wrong with being selfish. That word is very loaded, but it's fine. Um, and just gives me, I feel like I'm being myself. I don't, authentic sounds a bit much, but I'm myself and I do the things that make me happy and give me joy and peace and allow me to just do the things that pop up that are new. Like doing this. This is like something new. It's great. Yeah, just space and freedom to allow me to grow and be the best person that I can be, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't personally view it as selfish. I like to use the word self-aware because
Yeah,
it gives us a chance to like analyze who we are, what we want, and then create our life intentionally around that.
for sure.
Yeah.
And I suppose I mean, I use the word selfish. There must be a better word than that. But, like wanting to sleep in and not having to share all my time with someone else and, eating in a nice restaurant. I mean, whatever it is. Um, that to me can come across as quite selfish. That's what people are saying. It's like you don't want to give your time to
Yeah.
someone small. Self aware, I suppose, could work as well.
Maybe depend on the
Yeah.
context.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a loaded word, isn't it, being selfish? But it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be something really negative. It's just thinking of
That's the
yourself.
thing. Yeah, I think when you hear the word selfish, it tends to come with a negative connotation, but it's not necessarily always a negative thing, as you're
Yeah,
saying.
negative outcome as a result of how
Mhm.
yeah, that's just knowing what is good for me and getting enough sleep means that I'm a better human being on a day-to-day basis than if I hadn't. Maybe that's not being selfish, because actually by being a better human being, I'm helping other people to feel better about themselves.
That's what I was thinking. It's kind of selfish if you're like, I need this in my life, but yet I'm still going to bring another child in that's not going to get it because I want this. Whereas,
Hmm.
like, it's not selfish to say, no, I can't do both. So I'm going to focus on one thing.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm not being selfish by having children and bringing them into my world and making them fit around what I want, and then me being potentially miserable with that, and then them not being very happy either, probably.
Right. Well, I have a tradition on the podcast where the previous guest that I interviewed leaves a question for the next guest,
Hmm.
and they don't know who you are or anything about you. They
Hmm.
just leave it anonymously. And the question that was left for you is, what are you enjoying the most in this season of your child-free life?
Mm. Oh, creativity. Slam dunk. I do not know. I do know of one mother who wakes up at 4 a.m. and works on her book for 2 hours before her kids get up every day. And I'm like, you're amazing. I don't have to do that. So yes, I am so joyful being able to write and disappear into my book. And I'm joining the Bristol Writing Collective and joining new people and meeting new people, reading their work, then reading my work. So yeah, creativity and spontaneity is all exactly what I'm loving about my child-free life right now.
I love it. That's awesome. And that you're able to do that. If you didn't have this freedom, you might not be able to write that book that I feel is going to be very beneficial for people to read, both child-free and not. So,
Thank you. That's really
yeah.
kind. Well, hopefully that's the intention. It's certainly not mum bashing or child bashing. That's not the intent. So yeah, it's just trying to look at things from both sides of the story, I suppose, and make your choice accordingly. Make sure it's informed.
Well, before we wrap up, did you have any final thoughts or maybe any questions I didn't ask that you would like to talk about before we go?
No, I think you've asked some really, really great questions. Thank you. I feel certainly that I guess I had a little think about what was important to me in relation to being child free. And yeah, I think it's just choice, and women who are in a privileged position make that choice in an informed way and to think really carefully and not sleepwalk into either decision. That's for me the most important thing.
I agree. Whichever way you go is fine. Just make sure that you've thought about it and make that decision.
Exactly.
Because no matter which decision you make, child free or not, you don't want to regret it later. You want to do everything you can to try to work through that and feel good about your decision.
For sure. But I'd say it's better to regret not having kids than have had them, because there's another human being that you're impacting in there. So really it's an important decision either way. And it's the only other decision. It's the only decision that's so binary. Like I can't, apart from death, you make it one way or the other. I've tried to think of other ones, but that's it. So it's a tough decision. So you have to think about it really carefully.
You're right. Most other decisions in life
There's a
you can change.
there's a get out somewhere
Hmm. If
apart from
you get
death.
married and yeah, apart from death, like you get married, it doesn't work out, guess what? You can get a divorce. If you
Exactly.
buy a house, you don't like it, guess what? You can sell it and buy a different one. There's just,
100%.
but once you have another human being, you are definitely committed until they're of a grown adult. And even then, you're really
Mm.
committed your whole life because they're still your child no matter what. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's definitely, I
absolutely.
agree. I agree that
Yeah.
you don't want to regret. It's better to regret not having them than regret having them. But I'm yet to meet a person that has decided to not have children and regrets it.
I'm
I'm
with you.
sure
And
they exist, but
I meet a lot of women, and they're not all in their early 30s. They're all, of age now. There's over 1,200 women in Bristol who can contest with that point.
have
I think there's
you heard
maybe,
of?
well,
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think there's some women who are a little bit on the fence and are coming along to be more informed, which is brilliant. Like, come along you, and work that out through talking to us. Fantastic. But yeah, once they've got off the fence, they stay off the fence.
Yeah. Have you heard of the lady Marsha, the child-free guru? is what she
Yes.
goes by online. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm interviewing her in a week or two, and I'm super excited to talk to her because she's 83
That's right.
and child free. And so just to hear
Yeah.
somebody that's on the other side completely and I know that she's happy with her decision just based on the content that she posts, but still just to kind of
Yeah.
get that perspective is neat
Yeah.
to see.
Yeah, I've actually there's another woman called Helen Taylor who's written a memoir called Childless by Choice: Living a Child-Free Life. She's British. She's an emeritus researcher, very smart woman at Exeter University. And I read her book and went to her talk about her book. And she's very eloquent. She lectures, but it was great hearing a perspective of a woman who is in her late 70s and still, and a lot of what she was saying was similar to what we felt now, and she still felt the same. She's like, yeah, no, I don't want to now. I don't want to talk about my friends' grandchildren, quite frankly. Whereas before didn't want to talk about their children. And so yeah, she's an interesting lady too. But I will definitely want to listen to that podcast. She was the first lady, the child free guru was the first person who wrote to me on Instagram and was like, "I hear about what you're doing with this book." So
Oh,
she's
neat.
great.
Very cool. Yes. That's interesting though, the comment the other lady made about being not wanting to talk about grandchildren with her friends. Like I honestly didn't think about that stage of my life that then it'll be grandchildren.
I know.
Well, thank you so much for your time today. I've genuinely appreciated you coming on, and I've really enjoyed talking with you and learning a little bit about what you do. So thank you.
No, same, Vanessa. It's been really nice to talk about it. Something I care about. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Life Outside the Default. If you would like to connect with myself or our guest, or be a guest and share your story on the show, please check out the show notes. You will find all of our contact information there. Thank you.